So specifically, are you reading other people's articles? I mean, obviously, when you talk to
Sometimes.
Bill Gates, you read Bill's book, and
I
you
read his book.
you
Right, yeah.
you had commentary on that, and you had questions. I thought you did a great job, sort
Yeah.
of pushing back. And maybe it's interesting to see someone like Gates, who's gone through this evolution of being, like Murdoch is the Uncle Satan to now,
No,
this
he's still,
philanthropist.
Murdoch is always Uncle Satan. I'm sorry to tell
But Bill was there for a while, right? Like he was the most hated man. He was Zuckerberg, really.
He was. He was. It was very different. Bill Gates's issues were about dominance and about dominance over an industry, not the wholesale tarnishing of a civilization. Murdoch is going to have a lot to speak for when he dies, I think. He's a very different creature. I would take Bill Gates every day and twice on Sunday to Rupert Murdoch.
Do you think Zuckerberg's the archetype of Gates?
I think Mark over time will evolve, I hope. I think the job he has is so quantumly important, and he is so not able to handle it, just like very few people would be able to handle it. I respect him for trying. I just don't think it's what he's built is possible to manage in the way he hopes it could be. And the fact that he has no accountability is really difficult. I think if the guillotine's not going to drop at some point, there's no accountability. Like there's got to be accountability.
Why don't you think Mark is capable of handling this? Is it a lack of emotional intelligence? Is it?
No, of course he has emotional intelligence. It doesn't matter. No person can figure out how to deal with all these problems in real time. He's talking about managing the human race and their communications and how everybody's thoughts and negative and positive flowing through his platform, and it's being used by a lot of negativity, a lot of really dangerous information. And so having to make those calls in real time in the mass that's coming in, it's just not a job for one person. And it's not a job, not that he's making every decision, but the buck does stop with him on lots of big issues.
But can't he surround himself with really smart people who, knows these things?
Enough people. What he's built is who's in charge of all communication. That's what it is. Like, I don't forget, 60-70% of people read their news on Facebook. In some countries, it's 90. It's like as if we had someone running the internet. We don't have someone running. It just does itself, right? Nobody runs the internet, but someone runs Facebook, and Facebook is the internet to a lot of people. So.
And how about Jack over at Twitter? Is it the same situation?
Well, it's smaller. That's just because the media loves it. It's a much smaller. I mean, it has its resonance because of Donald Trump and him being on the platform, but again, for example, in throwing Trump off the two platforms, essentially, two people made that decision in the world. Two people changed the course of history, right? I'm good with their decision because I think it took them too long to make.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, was it too late?
Good decision. Finally, when the things were getting pretty hot, they didn't want to be that linked with terrorism, essentially domestic terrorism, but it was just two people. What? Like, huh? Like, I don't know. Even if it's a good decision, someone, I don't know, there's about to be a nuclear war and it's not supposed to be, and one person stops it. Good. But why is one person stopping it? Like, what? Like, that makes you worried.
Too much power. And that's Murdoch's problem too, right? The media empire.
In his way. Well, he doesn't have as much power as they do. It's a good thing he doesn't have the power they have. That's what I say.
Let's switch gears to some of the things that you love. You've recently talked to people like Bryan Cranston and other actors. It seems like you are a big fan of pop culture and TV and movies. Yeah. I've also heard you talk about, aliens and Bigfoot and all these things you're fascinated with. Yeah. I just spoke to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's the astrophysicist, and I asked him about... I said, Neil, I just want to know your position on three things. In this order, Bigfoot, aliens, and God. Can you weigh in on that for me?
Oh, gosh. Bigfoot? No. I think it's a bear. I like that it's there, though. I kind of like those kind of mythologies. They're sort of conspiracy theories that are benign, right? They're kind of benign conspiracy. So I don't mind the Loch Ness Monster. Like, okay, sure. I think it's interesting. I always read everything about it. It's not like I don't read about it. I think, the conspiracy theories, none of them. Like, they're all insane, but they're amusing to look at because most of them are plots of movies. Like there's a recent QAnon conspiracy theories that Trump and Biden switched faces, and actually Trump is running the White House now, and nobody knows it. Although feels a little liberal, but I was like, that was a movie with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta called Face Off. Just so you know, remember? Like every one of their conspiracy theories is a movie. I was like, that was a movie, and of course I love sci-fi, and so I watched all the movies. What was the second one?
You're a Star Trek fan, right?
I'm a Star Trek fan, not a Star Wars fan.
Right. No, I heard you talk to Stacey Abrams about that.
Yeah.
Who's your Star Trek character? Who are you most associated with?
Oh.
God. I don't know. I like a lot of them. Probably Picard. I like Picard. Maybe Spock. In a lot of ways, I like Spock. And then aliens? Sure. I can't believe we're not the only life. I don't know what form they'll take, but sure, I'm good with that. I'm good with believing that that's possible. I don't know about the people visiting us and operating on us. I just don't know why they always settle in rural areas. They never go to a city. They never show up at Harvard. Like they never take someone from Harvard. They just, anyway.
Well, there's this Venn diagram now between us. You, me, and Neil deGrasse Tyson. We agree. There's overlap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
If that sets your minds at ease at all.
God, I don't know. I'm not an atheist. I'm an agnostic. I have no idea, and so I don't know. There's some order to the universe. It's clear when you look at nature. There's some beauty and symmetry to it, but that might just be science.
Yeah.
I've been a mother for 20 years, but okay.
Right. Like, so what have you learned about yourself in hindsight? Sort of taking inventory a little bit. And this means a lot to me because I'm also a father, so I have 4 children. And being someone who's adopted, I have this interesting perspective. I'm just curious to hear it from your point of view.
I think that parenting is the most important thing I've done. I think it really is. I think I'm pretty good at it. I think I am. I think my kids think I am. I think it's very important to do that part right, like the best, to really be there. I haven't been there the whole time. I've done a lot of work. I work a lot, and
what makes you good at it?
Some mistakes.
What does being good at it mean? What makes you good at it?
I think you'd be surprised, but I'm not very heavy-handed. I let them. I have different parenting styles from my ex. I don't look at their homework. I don't care if they finish their homework. I want them to take responsibility for themselves after a certain age, certainly not when they were younger. But on some level, I'm always like, what do you think? Let them make their decisions. And, I don't like, it's not like, what do you think about taking drugs or drinking and driving? That's not what I'm talking about. But I like them to learn to make their decisions and take responsibility for them, and good decisions. And I often say, well, that's a decision. I don't know if it's a good one, but it's a decision. You know what I mean? Like make good decisions, I often say to them when they leave the house. It
seems like a very Socrates way of raising your children.
I don't know.
Sort of like, the teacher will appear when the student is ready, and then, Socrates, the Socratic method is all about saying,
I don't overachieve at them. I don't think it does any good. I see a lot of parents that are, the whole thing with, like, my son is like, oh, if I do this, I'll get an A in this. I said, just do it because you like it. Like, do not do anything for a grade, or maybe if I do this club, it'll be good for college. I'm like, please don't do that. Please, for the love of God, don't do that, because you'll be on an achievement wheel your whole life. And by the way, you'll never catch up. And so the things I've done in my career is everything I've done, I've liked myself. Like, I like it, makes me happy. When I'm happy, I create jobs. When I'm happy, I'm creative. And so I really do push among my kids, like, please don't do anything for being a good boy or a good, just don't. I'd rather you watch a movie. Like, I'd rather you not try to, like, be performative for some dumb thing like getting into college. Like, you either get into college or not. Just enjoy your learning. And so I think some of the teachers hate me because I'm always like, that homework's useless. And they're like, it is? I'm like, absolutely. Let me just tell you, this is what you need to do to be successful in the workplace. You need to learn how to be on teams. You need to learn how to be creative. You need to be thoughtful about and intentional. And I was like, these are the things you don't teach in school. learning, whatever you're learning here is not, the way you're learning it is not going to, memorization is really not, unless you want to be a doctor, yes, you should know chemistry, right? But if you want to do this, you don't need this. And so I want them to learn for learning's sake and no other reason. And I just can't, I hate watching a lot. We're in DC now. We used to be in San Francisco. It was a lot easier to be able to push this. But, there's a lot of kids that are just wrapped, they wrap themselves around an axle of achievement. And let me tell you, there's always someone better than you. And you will never win that particular game. So do what you like. Do what you like, because you have the freedom and the privilege to be in a society, even as tough as it is with COVID, and not everybody, lots of people are suffering and different as people are suffering, but many of the people my kids are around are very lucky. And it doesn't mean they can't be sad. It doesn't mean they can't be depressed about what's going on. They can't grieve the things they're missing, but that they shouldn't be doing things for any reason except that it either helps the world or they like it themselves.
One of the favorite things I heard you say on a podcast of the past two, I think you were talking about crimes and murders and different things, and you said, if my child committed a crime, I would definitely 100% turn them into the authorities.
I did. Scott got mad. You were talking about it was Bryan Cranston. It was the show on. That's the plot point. You know it from the beginning, so I'm not giving you anything. But he shields his son from his son's done a hit and run, and he goes to take him in. It turns out a mobster is the kid that got mobster's kid, and so he decides to. It has lots of repercussions that are negative for other people, not his son, and so. I don't know. I would turn him in. I think people should be responsible. I'm thinking about this a lot with the Promising Young Woman, because nobody turned that person in, or they didn't drop the dime on them, and look what happened. Like, the repercussions are vast.